we're back, and we're back with Rodger Blaker.
You sound like an FM show.
I'm trying.
We're
I'm trying.
back.
Well, now we're on Blog Talk, so I feel like my voice.
And Patty's over here, going to join us again
Yeah,
too.
so
one of my best buds. So.
Well, you know, she's here once a month, so I got to give her every minute I can.
Gives me a chance to see her once in a while, so that's great.
We love having Patty on the show. And you're going to be talking us. We've got Rodger Blaker. Rodger Blaker Business Coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And it's BlakerBusinessCoaching.com. And you're talking about communicating with style.
Yep. Last week I introduced an overall presentation I want to do for the next few weeks about communicating, and to do a quick review as far as who I work with and why it matters to me. Working a lot with business owners. And it doesn't matter if it's a solopreneur, and a lot of my clients end up being larger companies. And one of the things that I often help them with and coach them around, and it really is it can be a very positive, very negative experience, is how they communicate with each other, and especially in sales. So this really matters there too. And I'm going to go through a process that I use, and it's actually an assessment. I'm not going to talk about the assessment. I'm just going to use it as the background. But give you some examples, some of the challenges that we may all run into. You've been in situations where you're talking to someone, or you're in a meeting and there's several people in there, and you got this one person over here that's going through all this detail and dragging on, and you're the style that, you know what, we need to get to the bottom line, just get to going here, get moving. Just shut up and give me your information, get out of here. Then you have it over here wants to kind of visit or whatever, like I am. I'm a person that likes to socialize. Well, you two are too. Yeah. So it's cool that we get together and there's a lot of talking going on. But you get irritated at somebody else. Because why does that person have to be in a hurry? I mean, they don't even act like they like me. They just want to get the bottom line, get after it. Then you got this one over here saying, we got to go through all this detail to make sure we're exactly right and what we're doing before we take action. Oh. And we all hit those situations. We've all experienced them, right?
Absolutely.
How do we know those things? And what it is, those are behaviors. And what I want to talk about is behavior style and communication style.
Okay.
And I want to point out, and one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some slides here that Jimmy's going to pop up as I direct him. It's going to give you a chance to identify what your primary style is. Now, one thing is there are 4 styles, and these kinds of things have been identified since BC. I mean, this is stuff way back all the way to now.
Wow. Cave paintings.
Yeah, and so there's a guy, Chung, that actually came up with this right here. But we all have all 4 styles, but we usually have predominantly one. Sometimes not, but I'm going to give you some tests here to let you see. So first off, I want to talk about behavior and what it's not. Behavior has not anything to do with your experience. It's not to do anything with your background. It's not anything to do with your intelligence, nothing to do with your education. It's nothing to do with that. Behavior is simply what you observe about somebody and their emotions. And so when people say they're going to do a personality test and for these kinds of things, this is not personality tests.
I always flunk those, by the way.
This is not personality. This is about observable behavior. So
they never hire me.
Why is it important? It's important because if you can recognize yours and you can look at other people and observe them and how they're talking and what they're saying and their environment they're in, you can identify the behavioral style that is predominant with them. And you can adjust yourself to connect if you understand what buttons are positive to them and what buttons are negative to them. That's the reason why this is vitally important. Well, I'm not going to cover all that today because it's too much detail.
That's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful
So when you understand it, and one thing you're doing too, people get nervous. Patty, you talk some about the speaking thing and nervous around that. If you are observing somebody and you're putting yourself in their place, you get out of yourself. And a lot of our nervousness comes because we're turned in. Mm-hmm. We're thinking about us as opposed to observing. So these things are
empathetic.
Yeah, this is development stuff for a lot of reasons. So anyway, okay, pop the first one up there, Jimmy, if you wouldn't mind, the one about vacation. I'm going to have 4 questions here. We want to see them on the screen because this is something other people can come back and look at later as opposed to me reading them real fast. But there's 4 types of styles. So what you want to do is do a self-test here. If that first statement, I will decide what we're going to see and what we're going to do and all that kind of stuff, and I'm going to leave if I'm bored. If that's kind of what you think you do, that's the way you kind of react to things, mark that down. If the one, I'm flexible, doing whatever the family wants to do, I just want to be with everybody. If that's something that speaks to you, you want to mark that one down. Let's do some of the things that we've always done the previous 10 years. In other words, consistency, something to depend on. If that's a statement that speaks more to you than the previous 2, mark that one down. The last one, I want the exact scenarios. I want to know what's established. I want to know what the plan is. I want to know everything about it. So you've got 4 statements that are unique, And one of them's probably going to speak to you more than the other.
Yeah, I'm kind of B and C. I would like a
Well, that's
little
okay.
bit.
Stay with that. Okay, next one up, Jimmy. The buying style. These are statements around buying styles. All right. I power shop. I walk in, I know what I want, and I buy what I want, I'm ready. If that's kind of the way you like to shop, mark that one down. I like shopping with my friends. Whatever they feel like going, I just love to have fun. If that's more of your style in shopping, then mark that one. I budget 4 times a year for clothes like comfort. I buy pretty much the same things, the same brands, kind of repeat it consistently. If that's what you pretty well do, mark it. The last ones, I like to look, I like squared away, I like to buy good things, in other words, tailored, in other words, quality. I mean, they're going to really, really look, spend a lot of time looking at stuff. So is that your style? Mark that one down. The last one, now this is a business, and this is where I get more into business leadership things. The shoulds in business. Okay. People just need to be more aggressive. We simply need to get results. If that's the way you react in business, that's what you want to identify.
All of them are A's, by the way.
Let's get upbeat and optimistic. We can get it all done. We're all a team. Rah, rah, rah. If that's your style, mark it down. We want to keep the good priorities in place and, help us grow. I mean, that's, again, that consistency, the priorities, understanding exactly what you need to do, kind of having plans. That's your style, mark it. And we need to look at the numbers. We want to be careful in the upcoming things. In other words, we've got to be really cautious. We've got to know the detail, understand before we take action. We've got to really understand all the detail. If that's your kind of style, you want to mark it down. Now, go to the last one, Jimmy. So if you've done this real quick, you've kind of done a self-assessment. If you've got 2 or more in the A's, you're a D. That's defined as dominance. And that doesn't mean dominating. It just means dominance, and I'll give you more information
Get
in a
out
minute.
those boots and
If you got
and
2 or
gloves.
more of the B's, you're an I, and so forth. So if you got 2 or more on those, any one of those, that's kind of giving you what your strongest behavioral style is.
I'm an I. I'm a B. I did mainly B's, but I felt kinship C's. But
Well, yeah, you're a B, you're an I. But that's the point. I've actually got clients, for an example, the best, probably most effective salespeople is a high D and a high A both, because they're going to be aggressive, they're going to be assertive, they're not going to be harmed or hurt, they're not going to worry about if somebody says no to them, they're okay with that. And the I means they're very people connected. Next slide, Jimmy, and I'll cover something else here. I know I'm throwing things at you real fast, but that's the reason why I wanted to have these slides up, the one that has the observing styles. Okay, these are definitions that you also can get more clarity about what they are, but I'll tell you, I'll point out some things here, and you could play this over and over if you're going back and watching this on the internet. But D's and C's are people that want to do tasks. They're tasks-oriented. They're not so much relationship-oriented. I's and S's are relationship-oriented. Now then, D's and I's are extroverts, and S and C's are introverts. Now, I've got, for an example, I have a guy that's a regional manager of sales, very high sales organization, and he's a D and an I maxed out when I do the assessment with him, so he's both of those. His office is decorated to the max. I mean, he's got trophies, everything around the world, but he doesn't know a stranger. We've got to play golf, and everybody meets on a golf course he speaks to.
that would be a
That's
good.
his D and an I, and
That's
you
a
can
good
see why that'd
blend.
be sales.
Yeah.
I think
So-
he's talking to me.
And you are, and Patty's a connector. Now, Patty, I would say if I did assessment with you, Patty, I think a D and I would be your primary,
It is
and
what I
both of them
am.
would be. Have
I've
you
done
done
this
this
test.
before?
Yep.
Yeah. See, I've done this enough. I kind of recognize people. Sometimes I can
But
be
I'm
a bit full.
I identify with the S because I'm pretty steady. I do what I say I'm going to do. I got a relaxed type of thing, but that's.
You better
but
be
I'm
a
an
combination
I.
of S and I both.
No, but
too.
I'm more of an I. But I can see some
Yeah.
of those. I can see
Right.
on the other too.
Okay, so now the next slide. I'll give you some examples where and there's no right or wrong about this. Let's see, Jimmy. that's a decent. Go ahead and go buy these. I don't know if you have. I don't know if I sent this one behind this one. That's all right. Don't worry about all those because we've covered enough of that. I mean, that's
That's
stuff.
me.
Yeah,
Stacker.
that's mine too. See, you're an I. That's what I mean. Yeah, you slide on through those. It's also, there's slides out here, and if you guys, there you go, and if you got them all up there, then anybody can stop this thing and look at them if they want to, and they can get indication. And then that's vacation style. Okay, famous people. I always like this, and I do this presentation, and I do it with Peanuts characters. But D's, for an example, is Michael Jordan and
Barbara Walters.
Barbara Walters. They're D's. I is Oprah and the comedian guy.
Oh,
Anyway.
Oprah. Oh, that's
Anyway.
good.
Robin Williams is an I. Barack Obama, president, and the Catholic lady that worked over...
The nun.
Yeah, those are
Mother
S's.
Teresa's.
Mother Teresa's are S's, and then C's are like Tiger Woods and Einstein are C's. Very detail-oriented. Now, a lot of people may think that Tiger Woods wouldn't be a C, but look how he strategizes and looks at detail.
Yeah.
Now, I'll give you peanut characters. Test for you. Who in the peanut characters, everybody knows peanut characters, right? I mean, I know the younger generation still sees it. So if you were to guess a D as a peanut character, which one would it be? And of course,
Patty.
Well, Patty knows.
Lucy,
but,
for sure.
Lucy.
For sure,
Oh, yeah.
sure.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Lucy. What about I? Who would be the peanut character for I? Think about personalities.
Charlie Brown?
No. Anybody else?
Linus? Oh, Snoopy.
Yeah,
Snoopy.
What about S's? Very
Linus.
steady, calm.
Linus.
Yeah, Linus. And what about C's?
Analytical, that would be...
Very doubtful. You know, is always cautious about
Charlie.
that. Charlie Brown. Remember the girl? Maybe that redhead girl may like me, and he's very reserved and cautious. So there are some examples of that. Okay, so how much time do we have? Covered the detail there. So
Oh, we've got about 4 minutes. 5
okay,
minutes.
you guys got any questions or anything about anything more about this? Because I can speak a little more about how. You saw the pictures about offices and cars. I mean, for an example then, if you go into a meeting, and we all do that a lot, you walk into a person's office, and by those pictures, you kind of observe what's in their office. You can start getting an idea of their behavioral style. Now, I don't have it here, but one of the things that I teach is also the do's and don'ts, how you communicate and how you speak to things to people that are these different behavioral styles. Like a D, you want to get the bottom line, and you want to be sure of yourself and what you're speaking to. But they don't want a lot of fluff, want a lot of detail, and they also don't want a lot of socializing, unless they're D and I. But again, you kind of want to look for the primary.
What I think would be a really good thing here is if you knew this, because I always think of everything from connecting, but really
Absolutely.
if you knew those personalities and you could actually spot them, then you would be able to, if you were going to say somebody wanted to be introduced to, say, a financial planner, say, for example.
Right.
And you knew 3 financial planners, you could start
You
mixing which
nailed
one
it.
is the best one to
Exactly.
Yeah.
connect them to.
And you would want
Exactly.
to match them, wouldn't you?
That's
Because-
what she's talking about. Exactly.
That would be great.
Yeah.
More for success. That would definitely
Yeah,
be
and
success.
I know with you, because you and I are going to do some other things together, I want to get more of the assessment stuff and go through those kinds of things to where you get a better understanding of it.
That's
As far
beautiful.
as those do's and don'ts, Patty, and you and I are going to meet anyway. We already scheduled to do something pretty soon. And one of the things I want to do is bring that other details with you and get it so you can take it with you, because those very things you're talking about is what really matters.
Absolutely.
Because so what I teach people are there's communication ways to connect, ways you say things, the way you present material to somebody, and if you read them, you know how to do that. Because
And
a
I
lot
know
of I
that,
have.
yeah, because that does stop me when people say, well, send it to me and write it all out, and I go, well, that ends that.
Well, let me give you an
Because-
example of that. Now here's the deal. If you know you're talking to a predominant C,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you want to do. A financial planner, if they know this person if they picked up cues that they're a high C, a financial planner wants to send things ahead of time because they're going to want to look at every single T and I in the place and know exactly what they got. They'll have a ton of questions, and you don't rush them, because if you do, you're going to lose a client. So as you see in sales, not even that, just us in connecting with people, if we take ourselves out of us and start looking at them
But
and
I
how
think-
to connect with them, then we start winning people over. And it's not manipulation. It's a matter of just because I want to connect with people. You know,
I
I
can see
want to
where-
have an influence.
I could really see where this would really help closing the deal. People say, I'm having some problems closing the deal. This could really be a good tool
Absolutely.
for them.
Yeah, because they might know
That's
they
right.
need more
It's-
detail.
It's the kind of questions you would ask, for an example.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because they need more detail.
So
or
you guys
whatever.
already see the value of this, and I'm assuming
Absolutely.
people in the
Yeah,
audience
and
would
also
too.
it helps if when, because sometimes, you.
Okay.
Especially if I got somebody that's right to the point, I can kind of beat around it pretty good, and so I'm thinking.
But
my
you want to
husband-
stop doing that,
Yeah, my
because when
husband-
they're a bottom line
There you
person,
go.
you're just you. And now another thing about this is when I go in, I went into a law firm, and the whole law firm was there, and I went through this whole thing and did a 3-hour presentation. I had them do interacting with each other, and one reason why I also teach people this is because I want them to appreciate the other's behavior, because it's not a matter of